We got Windex, we've got soap and water, we've got the dry method with a heat gun. We're gonna be finding out what is the best way to be installing dirt bike graphics. Guys, Greg Hitchcoat here. Welcome back and thanks for following me along on this journey with my 1999 KX250 behind me. So in this video, like I said, we're gonna be installing some graphics, not the shroud graphics, but we got some sweet number plate graphics from my guy Tyler at Mellow Design Co. He's outfitted all of my project bikes with graphics, whether it was the Chevy trucks, Kawasaki that I did, the 2007 KX250, or all the bikes with the throwback two-stroke garage wheel shootout that you see here. He sent me some number plate backgrounds with some sweet purple pinstriping to throw on this bike. So I thought, why not do a test? I've always done the dry method of installing graphics on a dirt bike, but there's other ways to do it, like the wet method using soap and water, as well as using Windex I've seen. So we're gonna test all three methods out in this video and figure out which one is the best. But before we get started, I'm just gonna use the OEM plastics that came on the bike instead of getting new ones. I think that's what we call recycling. So they've got scuffs on it, they've got a little dirt, but what you wanna do is clean up the plastics first with some alcohol. I actually used some spray hand sanitizer that I had that you see here. It actually works great and smells nasty, but works perfect. That's basically gonna get the slimy residue off of the plastics to help the graphics stick better. And there's also a couple ways that you can put graphics on. I actually prefer to put the graphics on with the plastics on the bike. I used to do it with the plastics off, but realized I don't have 4 hands, I've only got 2. With the plastics installed on the bike, you've got an extra set of hands to hold the plastics in place. May have to take off the seat to get access to the top of the plastics in the shroud, for example. Also, if you're putting graphics on, guys, and it's the middle of winter, do not put cold graphics on a cold bike. It makes sense to then take the plastics off of the bike, bring them inside, make sure they've warmed up a little bit to at least room temperature, likewise with the graphics, because if you try to install your graphics outside in the cold, freezing garage, they're not gonna stick and you're gonna have one heck of a time getting those graphics on in the first place. So that's probably the only situation where I would say where you're gonna have to take the plastics off to install the graphics, but hey, to each their own. We've all got different methods on how to do it, and this is just the method that I prefer. So we're gonna give the Windex method a try first. So the idea behind this, guys, is you're supposed to squirt a few squirts of Windex on the plastic. I wouldn't douse the thing, but basically you rip the entire backing off of the plastic and you're able to move the graphic around on the plastic to where you want, but the Windex is supposed to evaporate, so that's why people use this method, but we're gonna give it a shot now. We're gonna do it live. I guess that looks good. I'm really curious on these methods because the dry method, it's not a pain in the butt, but you just need to take your time with it. So the idea is you can move the graphic around. There we go. Get the holes lined up. And then, so here you just want to kind of work from the same process with everything. You just want to work from the center out to make sure you don't have any air bubbles in there. It seems like it doesn't want to lay down as well as it would if the plastic was dry, but it's actually not doing too bad considering the pipe side is by far the hardest side to do because the plastic curves over the pipe. So you may have to get some heat in here at the end of it, but yeah, it looks like it kind of keeps bubbling up. Doesn't really want to stick on the bottom here. So grab your trusty heat gun here. Now you can use a hair dryer. It's not going to be as harmful to the plastic as the direct intense heat of a heat gun. So I'm just going to put it on the low setting and keep my distance. And I'm going to see if I can dry some of that Windex out from underneath so the graphic starts to stick to the plastic. I can definitely feel the Windex starting to come out from the bottom here, so that's a good thing. It does seem to be sticking much better now, so I'm just gonna keep working it out. So I probably spent maybe a couple more minutes with the heat gun, kind of gently working the bubbles out and drying the Windex from behind the graphic, and that seemed to work pretty well. I actually liked the fact that I could just tear off the entire backing and stick the graphic on there, move it around a little bit, and then work the Windex out. So far this method, I'd probably use it again, I'm not gonna lie. So So flipped over to the other side, guys. I've got my soap in water this time. Let's do it. It's a simple green bottle filled with a little bit of water and Dawn dish soap, maybe a couple drops. Didn't want to make it too soapy, but shook it up and you can kind of see the soap in there. So I'm gonna do the same process of spraying a couple sprays on the plastic, ripping the backing off, and then putting the graphic on. All right, here we go. I don't know if I put enough soap in that bottle. Spray some more on it. Seems like with the water, you need to spray a little bit extra on there because the graphic was sticking a little bit too much there. Okay. There we go, that was a little bit better. Didn't really need to move this one around as much, just kind of lined it up as best I could, stuck it on there. I think we're gonna need the heat gun again on this one to kind of work that water out from underneath it. So that one, it actually seemed to go a little bit quicker, maybe spend still a couple minutes with the heat gun, but I think this side panel is a lot flatter and not as curved as the other side where the pipe is. So it just seemed to go on a lot easier. I needed to spray a little bit more soap and water compared to the Windex because I think the Windex was a little bit more soapy. Probably could have used a little bit more soap in the solution, but I guess it's just testing. And I don't hate the method either. I feel like I could have put this one on very easily without the water, but again, proved to work great. All right guys, so moving on to the front number plate background install here. Now we're gonna do the dry method with this. With the front plate install, just remove the front brake cable where it connects to the handlebars as well as the cable guide, but that'll allow you free access to the number plate, making it much easier to go on. The key to the dry install, some people like to rip the entire backing off the graphic again. I don't. I like to peel it back just a little bit. And the setup is probably the most important thing when putting on a dry graphic. I got the backing down just a little bit, enough where I can line it up on the number plate here. And the setup is important because if you install it cockeyed, obviously that looks really bad, but the straighter you install that first part of the graphic, the straighter the graphic is gonna go on. It's just really eyeballing it, getting a feel for it. Lay that first part of the graphic down. And what I like to do is before I start peeling more of the backing off, kind of push down on the graphic to see if it's gonna lay down where you want it to go. And if you're confident in the way it's laying down, then you can kind of come behind and peel the backing down. You see how I'm using my thumb to push down the center, and then I'm moving on to the outsides of the graphic, making sure there's no bubbles. Oh, so I got a little bubble here. If you have that happen, just peel the backing up, just peel the graphic back up a little bit and lay it back down. So it seems like everything is going on smooth. Front number plate probably is one of the easiest ones to install with the dry method. I don't think you would really need any Windex or soap and water for this just because it is so flat and easy. But there you go, whole backing is completely off now, and I'll just kind of work the graphic out to the outer edges, make sure it lays flat, no bubbles. And that seemed like it went on real smooth. The shrouds are probably one of the hardest ones to put on with the dry method. I'd like to try the Windex or soap and water method with the shrouds. But that's the key to the dry method, just making sure the setup is perfect before you lay the rest of the graphic on. Now, I've been that guy to lay the graphic on and had to peel it back up. I will actually do it with this one for you guys. So it's okay if you need to peel the graphic up and put it back on. Luckily, the front number plate isn't as bad. You kind of just go through that same process, just without the backing on there. So you see how quick and easy that was to go on after peeling it back up. So if you guys do mess up, it's not the end of the world to peel the graphic back up. This one didn't need the heat gun. The side panels and shrouds you would probably need a heat gun for, but this one is super easy. So there's an example of putting on the dry method for you. There you have it, guys. At this point, you've seen me do the Windex method the soap and water method, as well as the dry method on the front number plate. Which one would I go with? I still prefer the dry method, or I actually like the Windex method. Seemed like the solution evaporated a little bit quicker than the soap and water method. I would actually be curious on how the Windex method works on the shrouds. In a lot of cases, those are probably one of the most difficult graphics to put on. If you guys enjoyed that content today, make sure you go ahead and punch that like button, subscribe to the channel for me. We're gonna have more 1999 KX250 content coming out for you. Thank you to Tyler at Mellow Design Co. again for sending me these graphics and providing all the graphics for my project bikes. Whether it's an OEM look, a theme look, or a custom look, Tyler has you covered on that. And also I wanna let you guys know there's a Rocky Mountain ATV MC link in my description below. It's a way for you guys to show your support, especially when you're gonna buy parts anyways. So thank you as always for doing that. It helps out a ton when you guys do that. But that's gonna be a wrap on this video, guys. As always, ride hard, be safe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.